It's an ML Sports Take brought to you by Batavia Downs Gaming and St. Bonaventure University's online masters in journalism. Log on to sbujournalism.com. Get your degree in under 2 years at sbujournalism.com. And I'll tell you what, I didn't see this one coming. 64-61, Bonnie's win on the road against Davidson. Davidson's not a great team. They're not a bad team. They're just kind of like that middle of the pack, average club in the A10. But boy, did they struggle this year in the A10. 6-12. Now the Bonnies get this win. They get to 9-9 in the conference. They're 21-10. Overall, by the way, in the A10 tournament is coming up next. We'll see if they can make a run. I don't see it, but you never know. Crazier things could happen if you win a couple in a row, get hot, there's an upset. We know March. We know how this stuff happens. Brackets bust. It's just how it goes, but that'll be 11:30 a.m. on Thursday on the USA Network, which will be the next game. But as far as this game was concerned, just to kind of a quick recap, I thought there were three big reasons why the Bonnies won this game. Number one, they had those two quick kind of zip runs, right? That 6-0 first half late, and then second half, were able to kind of build a big lead, and then obviously Davidson kind of chipped away at it. But to be able to get those two big runs, I thought, and kind of get out front there a little bit, tie it first, and then obviously get out in front, I thought were big. Another one was the Bonnies' rebounding was a lot better in this game. I mean, everybody was involved. Jones was a monster on the boards in this game at both ends. He actually had 12 rebounds, but 6 on each end. And it's funny, right? You can feel like you can stop somebody defensively where they miss a shot, but you don't get the rebound. So then those second and third chance points, the chances there, they're wearing you down. It's kind of like in football when you just can't get off the field on third down. You could talk to Sean McDermott's defense about that on the biggest stage, right? But, the Bonnies were able to get some huge rebounds in this game, and they out-rebounded Davidson, 36-28. So that was a big one, in this game. And then I thought the other one really was just the grind, right? I mean, sometimes you just have to go on the road in conference and just gut it out. I mean, the shooting numbers were not good across the board. The three-point shooting was horrific. 5 of 24. They were 43% from the floor. It was an ugly game offensively for both teams. It was a grinded-out rock fight type of game. And, if this were a football game, it'd be like 13-10 or 16-10 or 13 or whatever. But this Bonnie team was able to just gut it out. And sometimes when you're on the road, it's late in the year, you're going through the dog days of February and March, you're at the end of the line, you know the tournament's upcoming, you know that's your only chance to make the big dance. And you just go on the road for one more, and you just got to gut it out. And that was what the Bonnies did, and I give them credit for doing that. We had another game where these starters are playing 1,000,000 minutes. I mean, Council and Jones and Moore are playing tons of minutes. Brown played 22. There were 3 guys in double figures, 16, 11, and 15 for Brown, Hinton, and Council, respectively. I mean, Melvin Council Jr., I just have so much respect for him for gutting it out really all year. I mean, we know the point guard situation was brutal at the beginning of the year. You lose your PG, and that is a big thing. And Council, he was hot. Obviously, a lot of that came against inferior opponents, but the tape was out there, and teams really started to figure out how to defend this guy, try to take the ball out of his hands. And while he had a couple of, tough games here and there, you can't argue with this guy all year, man. I mean, 15 points and 8 rebounds in the finale. He had 4 steals. He had 4 assists. He just takes the box score and grabs it and goes bing, 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 and he checks all the boxes. And I just really, that's a hat tip to him. In a game where Jones only had 4 points, he really was brutal from the field. He really helped them on the boards with 12 rebounds, right? Chance Moore gave him 9. He didn't have a bad game or a great game. Hinton was in there and 1 of 6 from 3. Again, this guy just chucks him up. He loves doing that. Brown had a much more controlled game, but he didn't, as far as points go, but he didn't rebound that well. I just don't know what to think of Noel Brown. He's kind of like the prototypical example of the entire Bonnie season. He's a microcosm of the whole Bonnie season in terms of what a weird year. You get Noel Brown's points and he's efficient. You're like, yeah, but then he only gives you 2 boards, and you're like, man, I'd rather have maybe 12 points and 6 or 7 rebounds and more efficiency, and they win by 5 to 8 points and they look better doing it. But then they did win the game, so you're like, okay, weird, up and down all year long, right? And we know Bonna's playing the inferior opponents. the superior opponents, gave them more trouble, conference play, this and that. I still go back to the LaSalle game as a big turning point of this season, but now it's all over. Nothing matters now. You remember what you do in March. We'll see what this team does. For the 20-win people out there, you're excited about, like, all the numbers and the 20 wins and all that. You're happy because you got 20 wins again. It is what it is. I mean, 21 wins, there is something to it. There is something to, well, they did get that no matter what the competition is because of how college basketball is, how you can roll it out and teams can beat other teams. Upsets happen all the time. There were a million blowouts this year in college hoops as well, yet there is a level playing field, and it's crazy how UConn, has won 2 titles in a row with all this parity that's gone on, the NIL and the portal, the talent balanced all over the place. You look at the A-10 this year even, and you look at some of the standings, and you look at how teams, had a great 5 to 8 game stretch. Then they disappeared for a while. Dayton, for the beginning, they were kind of maybe a world beater, and then they weren't. George Mason came on. There were so many things that happened in the A-10, but it was just like college basketball across the board. You see big-time perennial programs in the basement. You see crazy things happening. NC State last year was supposed to fire their head coach, Keats, and they go on this magical run because Virginia missed a couple free throws. They win the ACC tournament. They get hot, keep getting hot, and they go to the Final Four. Then this year, no, and then they fire him finally like he forgot basketball compared to last year. So this is college hoops. This is where we are. You can take the positives from 21 wins. You can take the negatives from this Bonus season. It was a roller coaster. It was up and down. The injuries didn't help. I thought the offense got a little too bland. They got killed on the boards. Guys were playing too many minutes. The depth wasn't there. But you can also look at and say, okay, well, 21 wins in today's climate and the schedule and this and that. Do with it what you want. The bottom line is that this season is over. It would have really been interesting, I will say, had they beaten Utah State and if they were undefeated and maybe gotten a lot more of that national sort of feel and ranking and this and that and the other thing. What happens if they're, an undefeated club? Again, that's an assumption because if they beat Utah State, maybe they have a letdown after that. That's sports. We don't know. But let's assume that they keep hot against those opponents. BCU at home, do they win that one then if they beat Utah State? I don't know. But let's say they didn't have one loss almost, and they were 15-0 going into that St. Louis, that little losing streak stretch there where they lost 5 of 6. I have no idea. Does that change a little bit? I don't know. I don't know where things maybe go different. I do think the LaSalle game changed things a little bit for them. They came back strong to beat Richmond at home, but then they lost 3 in a row. And then once they won the 2 against Dayton and Fordham at home, again, wheels came off a little bit. You lose 3 in a row. You win 2. You lose 1. You win the last 2 of the year. So who knows? Maybe the UMass win, the at Davidson win. Maybe you can compile some things there. Execution against Davidson when you needed it. Defensive stops when you needed them. Rebounding when you needed it. It's all about the bottom line is, folks, it's all about that day in college basketball. It's about that game, that player, that team, that system, that venue, that head coach. It's all about rolling it out and seeing, what happens on that day. And now the conference starts, and there's no better example of that than conference tournament basketball, the NCAA tournament, and all the rest. Is just, it's just where we're at. But I did think the Bonnies' 2 runs in the game there, where they got the more jumper, and then Hinton got the layup, and then they got, another 4 points there, more with another score, and then, he had a layup there. I thought those buckets were all big, where Bonaventure was down, 34-28. They go on a 6-0 run to close the first half. They go on a big run in the second, and then they were able to hang on, just through guts and grit and just on the road. Like I said, last game, dog days, end of the year, one more. Sometimes you just kind of got to do it that way, and your numbers don't look great, but you come out with the dub, and now it's Duquesne. It's going to be a tough matchup, and it's the A-10, which is next in Washington, D.C. ML Sports Take brought to you by Batavia Downs Gaming and Stumbling Monkey Brewing Company. Don't forget, folks, to continue the donations coming for Shane Colligan, my dear friend who we lost a long time ago, a fundraiser to remember the great friend I had, and an awesome journalist at St. Bonnie, trying to get that memorial lounge named after him. We're climbing. We're getting there. We got to get there by the end of the semester. Go ahead and just Google Shane Colligan Memorial Lounge Bonaventure, and it'll come right up. You'll see the great picture of Shane right there on the website. And, of course, netcommunity.sbu.edu. Just plug in the search. Even $5 each person goes a long, long way. So let's get that done here in the coming weeks. ML Sports Take. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And as I always tell you, enjoy the games.